you check the children. Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil, Laird, and we are here to present to you the review of the final film from 2023's Phoenix Film Festival and International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival, Co-Venture. You know that we cover this every single year. Fuego's been the one to bring most of the coverage for you, or will be. I think this review might drop before the other ones. But Fuego is bringing most of the coverage. I did get to see some of the movies with him this year, so I'll be on the ones that I can, but this is sort of the film that we were all waiting for. Unfortunately, for Fuego and I, it conflicted with something else that came up that we just couldn't pass up. But luckily for you guys, we have an extensive cast here at the Horror Show. And tonight we bring to you two different people. We bring to you someone that's been on the channel from the beginning in a behind the scenes and sometimes on camera fashion, and then the newest member of the Horror Show channel. So everyone welcome Andrew Mercer and Jason. I'm not sure if we go your whole name or not. Probably
Greer,
not yet.
yeah,
Okay,
no,
cool.
perfect.
All right, sweet. All right. I don't know if we wanted to reveal that yet or not, but all right. So these gentlemen got to see Renfield from 2023 featuring Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult, right?
Yes.
Okay, two Nicholases. So I am excited to hear their thoughts, but I am going to leave because I'm going to watch the movie soon, and I don't like to hear nothing about nothing yet. But this is for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed the review. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy.
So Renfield, first of all, let's get it right, was directed by Chris McKay, stars Nicolas Cage, Nicholas Hoult, and Awkwafina.
Yes.
Everyone was awesome in the movie. So what were your initial thoughts, man?
As far as casting, I really liked it. Everybody played a very good part. Everyone kind of blended to the story in a way that moved it forward. Didn't seem like anyone was too focused, other than, I guess you could say, Dracula.
Yeah, for sure. So the one thing I'm curious as it relates to you is I know you had a little bit of trepidation going into Nicolas Cage as Dracula. So
I did. I had to get over it. Truth be told, the setting of the movie in the very beginning, they set the movie very well. It was sort of, I'll leave it a mystery. It was an effect. It was a simple effect, but it really kind of got you in the mindset of what you were about to see, with the story you were about to see about Renfield. It's sort of a time period sort of story. There is a lot of passage of time, so it was kind of cool to see that they still started in the back, and then how that translated to modern day. I guess maybe that was where I had my my apprehension, was that how could you take something so classical and what I thought Nick Cage was made for,
right,
and then turn it into a modern day TikTok-y viewing of Dracula, and I didn't know how it would be, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did come out of the movie thinking, this was one I really wanted to watch. So.
Yeah, so I felt kind of the same. Well, I didn't feel the same way. I was excited to see Nick Cage as Dracula. I'm like a big Dracula fan. Nick Cage is kind of known for, A, B, C, or, you know what I mean, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you weren't sure quite how that was going to translate, but I'll say that he really brought the character to life in a way that I think paid, homage to, like, the old actors who portrayed Dracula, but then he also brought the whole Nick Cage element to it as well. So I think that was really good. I thought Nicholas Hoult was really great as Renfield.
Yes, Renfield was great.
He was the guy in Warm Bodies, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not too familiar with Nicholas Hoult, but I thought that he kind of pulled it out, man. Renfield, he is a classic character too. I don't think he's as well known as Dracula, just in the wide range.
It was a new story for me as far as the lore of Renfield. So.
Yeah, so I thought he kicked butt at that. Really strong performance, I thought, and yeah, and the cool thing about it is that at times it was almost touching, right?
Yeah, there was the connectability. I think they did a really good job of finding a way to have things that were immortal, godlike beings still connect on a level with people and their problems and everyday problems and stuff like that.
Right.
It did still feel like a very connectable movie while still being over the top.
Yeah, they grounded it really nicely in the 21st or 22nd?
Something like that.
Yeah, whatever century this is. They grounded it really nicely in this century, so they did a good job there. Obviously, Awkwafina has kind of been a breakout over the last few years in terms of her comedic style. She was really entertaining in the movie.
The comedy was a nice little touch to something that I feel like would have been too dark if it wasn't for the comedic
Right,
relief.
yeah.
It was kind of a nice touch, very yin-yang sort of feel to it, where if it started to kind of get too down in the dumps, the comedy relief was able to kind of bring it back up. And she headed it. I mean, there was other slapsticky, but the comedy, I think, was kind of solely on her shoulders. So.
Yeah, no, and she did a really good job of that. So I guess want to talk about the cinematography?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Oh, man, so the cinematography, this is kind of the thing that I'm excited to talk about. Even when you watch a trailer, you kind of notice that there's just these really punchy colors. It's very neon, the whole entire thing. I know that was probably just a bitch to light and then a bitch to color grade all at the same time. But it really created this atmosphere that was, again, both fantastical, but also very modern. You know, so I really like some of the settings, and the cinematography was just really, it was good.
Overall, I think there were certain moments in the movie that kind of hammered home, like that feel that you were talking about.
Right.
There's a bar location that I felt like every time they went to, it felt very like you got right back into the emotion and the feeling of the movie just because of the look, the feel, based on where you're at. It's very voodoo-y sort of.
It is. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It was they were able to kind of keep going back to that setting and feeling to, if you ever got too, I don't know, strayed from the path of, hey, this is still a night crawler creepy movie. So.
Yeah, and speaking of voodoo, this is set in New Orleans.
Yes,
so
yes.
Can you have a cooler setting for like vampire?
I didn't want to give too much away, but yeah, that's definitely I think it's mentioned somewhere. It's a setting in the movie, so it's actually not the first place.
Oh,
so
that's true. It's not the only setting. It's not the only setting.
So,
yeah.
But yes, it is definitely a fun, grounded place with the lore of the town, all the mysticism and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty crazy, and then they just lean right into it. So.
Yeah, it's just a lot of the setting is just kind of built in. You know, everyone has an idea of what it is already.
Well, and to your point with Mardi Gras colors, all that kind of stuff being so bright, I think that was just an easy place to get sort of inspiration and then boom, directly translate it to your idea.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of reds. Everything was just so much red light, lots of pinks and blues. Just really interesting choices. So I really enjoyed the cinematography. I thought that they killed it. It was really dynamic too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
They created an atmosphere, like I said, even with the comedy, it wasn't out of place. Everything fit, and I don't know, it wasn't too scary, but it wasn't too slapsticky. It wasn't a circus, but it was very spooky feeling. So I liked it. I thought for the majority of the movie that was a fun place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess move on to the effects.
The effects, yes. Throughout the movie, it was, I think they met a standard that fit the movie,
right,
but it didn't redefine visual effects.
No. Yeah, so I thought for the most part, yeah, it kind of fit kind of the comedy side of things. Like, I think that if it were like a true horror, these things might have had been taken maybe not quite so... It wasn't goofy, but you know what I mean? Like animated.
Yeah. It wasn't cartoonish, but they had some obscure ideas that they did pull off well. So it wasn't, they didn't necessarily shy away from weird ideas, but their execution was good enough to where it wasn't, tongue-in-cheek, funny business.
Yeah, but they had some really cool kind of ideas. I'm not going to reveal too much. Some of it is in the trailer. What you get in the trailer in terms of the blood and the gore, you're going to get that like tenfold in the actual movie. They had some pretty creative kills going on, and I enjoy. Nothing spectacular, but way better than anything I could do.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can kind of talk bad about it, and then you're like, well, it was really good.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not talking bad about it. Yeah, no,
I see most of the time.
It was a lot of fun. Gosh, were there any other effects? There was some effects with Dracula that I thought kind of sold the character.
Yeah, I was gonna say there are different views of Dracula,
right?
And I think
I
think they kind of told the story that bettered the story, as well as kind of hammered home the time jump, how long he's been around and stuff like that. So, and Nick Cage played again. That was where I thought Nick Cage played really well, where he wasn't at 100%. and he was kind of able to lean into all aspects of the character.
Right.
That is where I think I made my peace in the theater of like, okay, I'm in for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, so Dracula does go through kind of a progression throughout the whole entire thing, from, you know, old Dracula to their new version of Dracula. And not just the visual effects, but also the makeup effects that they did in there were actually, I mean, pretty grotesque.
Yeah.
I thought it looked believable.
But at the same time, when you're dealing with the content that you are with Dracula, it kind of makes sense. You know?
Oh, it totally makes sense.
It's an over the top idea that you slowly are like, okay, this makes more sense the more we get further into this. So
Exactly. So let's see here, what's next?
got the effects and the score.
Oh yeah, the score.
So interesting enough, I remember a few scenes that had some music that lended well to the movie, but as far as specific parts of, you know, feel and tone, I love the feel and tone of the movie, but it felt so classical yet dangerous. Like the feel of the movie was great, but at the same time, again, there's the comedy, so there was some hip hop here and there was some stuff that everything lended to where it needed to be. So it might not have been the greatest score in the world, but it was perfect for the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of went away going, oh man, the score, it was something that we talked about earlier. I didn't really notice it that much. So I guess it did its job. It didn't stand out, but it also didn't take you out of the story, and it just kind of kept you in the story. So I'll be kind of interested to maybe go back and listen to the soundtrack without the movie and just kind of see like what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I think we probably missed a couple gems, but again, being wrapped up in the movie, if they progress the movie, I'm not gonna sit there and go, what was that song? What was that song?
Yeah, for sure. And the movie was pretty action packed.
Yeah,
there's a lot of really cool fight scenes and going on, and I know that the music highlighted that.
I have to be careful because this is where I was thinking about stuff, and I want to remain as unspoilerific as possible. So. As far as the action was there. They don't shy away from showing things and, you know, the full gruesomeness of battle. So I liked those aspects of it. It wasn't too far away from everyday life, but then all of a sudden you start dealing with superhumans and you're like, well, how does this translate?
Yeah, it was like the superhuman element mixed with like a little bit of like Kingsman type, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
Kind of like sliding through the scene, just kicking ass.
Oh, and then the police officers are in there, so you have trained police officers, target to target. So it's mix all that together, you get quite a
and then you
crazy
get Renfield.
movie.
Yeah. So the one thing that we didn't talk about was just the overall story.
Okay.
So I thought the story, I wasn't quite sure where it was going to go. You know, obviously it's not a remake of Dracula, so but they're keeping the lore in place, so they have to kind of take the lore, then mix it with the new, and it's like, what is that next step? You know, if Dracula didn't die all those years ago, you know, what would that where would he end up? And you know, obviously we already spoiled they ended up in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But we're not going to say like where specifically he ended up within New Orleans or how that's all set up. But basically the story is just, it's not so much about Dracula, it's more so about Renfield.
It is.
And it really just follows Renfield and his, like I guess like inner turmoil about the part that he's played, you know, with Dracula being the guy who brings the victims and stuff like that. So it's really about his psychology and like almost like rediscovering who he is without Dracula.
He wants to be his own man. He wants to be in control of his own destiny, and he's basically realizing that Dracula has paved the way for him this whole way. So he wants to kind of do his own thing and not do the bidding of somebody else.
Right.
So this is kind of discovering, which again goes back to the relatability of the movie. How do you get out from under the thumb of somebody else? You know that. Maybe providing or supplying. How do you find a different way?
Exactly.
And so it was an interesting, relatable story. But there's a lot that I didn't know. I didn't know about Renfield himself. That like there was a specific assistant. I had no idea. And then just the I thought every night was Dracula's night, and he really wasn't doing a lot of his own bidding. So it's a really cool look into, again, you said the extended story of what happens. Dracula survives. So.
Right, and then they're just mixing the culture of cop culture and stuff like that as well. So the story overall kept my attention the whole entire time. The movie flew by. Like, it might as well have been like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally in a blink, and yeah, it really held my attention. And God, I almost want them to make a second one.
It's interesting. They probably could in some way, shape, or form, but I feel like they would just need to bring in another character, tell more about another character
totally.
along the way, you know, or I don't know, maybe just tell a different, you know, the precursor to this pre-Renfield.
Right. Let's see Renfield. Yeah, let's see Renfield. Killing it over there in Transylvania. Right?
Yeah. So again, I think if they keep with the mood and the tone, I think they could definitely make more in this vein for sure.
Yeah. So if you like a horror / comedy, I think this settles really nicely inside that category. You really are gonna enjoy it once it comes out. Yeah.
Relatable to what they do in the shadows.
Oh yeah, definitely has that kind of in that kind of vein.
Mm-hmm.
You know, taking the old lore and just kind of goofing up a little bit, but not too much.
Modernizing.
Yeah.
I guess is a term.
Yeah, it is a term. That's a word.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like we've kind of wrapped up the movie. We've told everything there is to tell without telling too much.
Yes.
When exactly can people check out the movie?
That is a great question. That is a fantastic question.
Okay, we should probably think about that before we just spring it on people. Mid-April.
Yeah. So they can put on the screen the actual date.
There'll be a date probably.
That's on
somewhere
UC's.
Yeah. But it's definitely, I think, one to check out. It's a fun watch, so you don't have to go in there too serious. You know, I have a ton of backstory. You go in just looking for a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one to see in the theaters too. Yeah, go see it in the theaters. It'll be a lot more fun.
Was fun. You get to feel more in the movie as far as what's going on. You hear things, you see things, but feeling the movie, I think, is best in a big theater.
Oh yeah, and people are reacting. And, there was big reactions in the theater.
Ahs and groans.
Yeah, totally, and laughs. It was everything. It was all good, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a fun time. So Renfield, check it out.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah, I forgot how the closing goes.
I think it's just, so until next time, stay scared.
You're Jason and I.
Oh, shit! Yeah.
I forgot
I
it.
know.
Alright, thank you guys for tuning in. That's all we got for you. So remember, until next time, I'm Andrew Mercer.
I'm Jason Greer.
And remember, stay scared. That's harder than it looks.
I know.